Today we will see the other two operating system structure. In the last class we have seen simple structure and layered structure. Today we'll see microkernel structure and modular structure. So let's begin with microkernel structure. So this structure designs the operating system by removing all non-essential components from the kernel and implementing them as system and user program. So remember that all non-essential components are removed from the kernel and those are implemented as system and user programs. Now there is a agreement, or there must be an agreement on which services should remain in the kernel and which should be implemented in the user space. Typically microkernels provide minimal process and memory management in addition to communication facility. Because of this smaller kernel, because we have removed all non-essential components, it is also called a microkernel, or it is called, that is why it is called a microkernel. The main function of microkernel is to provide a communication facility between the client program and the various services that are also running in the user space. For example, if the client program wishes to access a file, it must interact with the file server. The client program and the service never interact directly. Rather, they communicate with the help of message passing within the microkernel. Advantage of this structure is that all new services need to be added to user space and does not require the kernel to be modified. As a result, the operating system is easier to port from one hardware design to another. It is also more secure and reliable, as if a service fails, then rest of the operating system remains untouched. Mac operating system is an example of this type of operating system. As we can also see from the history of Windows NT, Windows New Technology, the first release had a microkernel organization. However, this delivered low performance when we compared with Windows 95. The microkernel suffered low performance. Windows NT suffered low performance compared to Windows 95 because of this function overhead. Also, Windows NT was, to be more specifically, Windows NT 4.0 partially readdress the performance problem by moving layers from the user space to the kernel space. So it has to move some of the services from the user space to the kernel space and integrate them more closely. And after that, Windows XP came and its design was more of monolithic than microkernel. If you can see this diagram, there is a difference between monolithic kernel and microkernel. The name micro is because all these services, if you see file system, inter-process communication, input output and device management, fundamental process management, all these are removed from the kernel space. If you see in this part microkernel, it is not having this and it is removed to the user space. So Windows NT faced a problem of function overhead. More functions are here, so there was an overhead. So later on it had to move all this or some of this to the kernel space. So in this difference between monolithic and microkernel, the kernel space and the user space were separate. In the user space for monolithic had applications and libraries, where in kernel these are the functionalities above the hardware. So application will be accessing the kernel to access the hardware, or application will be using system call. These are calls to the system or call to the kernel to provide some functionality of the hardware. And the microkernel, if you see, the kernel provides minimal functions. One of the main function, as we have seen in the last slide, is about communication through message passing. So this is the difference between monolithic kernel and microkernel. Now let us go to modular structure. In modular structure, it is the best approach of an operating system. It involves designing of a modular kernel. The design involves actually use of object-oriented programming techniques to create a modular kernel. Here the kernel has a set of core components and additional services that will be used during boot time or runtime. The kernel has only a set of core components and other services added dynamically loadable modules to the kernel during runtime or boot time. So these modules are not loaded into the kernel. Whenever they are required by the application program, they are loaded as and when they are required. It reassembles layered structure due to the fact that each kernel has defined and protected interfaces, but it is more flexible than the layered structure, as a module can call any other module. For example, device and bus driver for specific hardware can be added to the kernel, and support for different file system can be added as loadable modules. So that is what can be done. One of the example is the Solaris operating system, where dynamically loadable module and is common in modern operating system like Unix, Solaris, Linux and Mac operating system 10. So if you look at this particular image of Solaris loadable module, you can see several modules are there: class scheduling, executable, file system, loadable system calls, stream modules, miscellaneous modules, device and bus drivers. So whenever there is a request from the application program and the kernel needs to execute, then these modules, among these whichever is required, will be loaded at boot time. So that is why this has an advantage and is being most preferred operating system nowadays. So these are the common operating system structure. So that's all for now. Thank you.